by the sacking of Minister Gordhan and his then Deputy Mcebisi Jonas. The High Court and the appeal courts have found that the presidency should provide a record of the facts that led to the sacking. Meanwhile, President Ramaphosa has also welcomed the decision by the South Sudanese political leader RIEK MACHAR to resume participation at peace talks facilitated by the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD. For more on this, we are joined on the line by Presidency spokesperson, Ms. Khusela Diko. Ms. Diko, thank you for making the time.
Good morning, Desiree, and thank you so much for inviting us.
On what grounds is the President contesting to justify the reasons for the firing of former Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan and his Deputy, Mr. Mcebisi Jonas?
Well, thank you, Desiree. You'll remember that the matter that was brought before court by the was that President put forward the rules and record why he reshuffled his cabinet. Now, in terms of the rules of the High Court, when you do so, the record is, in this instance, it would be, any documentation that you relied upon, any reports, etc. The court, the lower court, held decision. We appealed to the Supreme Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court of Appeal felt that the matter was moot, it was no longer relevant, but they did not speak decisively on the issue which we wanted, which was Rule 53 as it applies to executive decisions like cabinet reshuffle. Now, President Ramaphosa is of the view that cabinet reshuffle, for example, of this class of executive decisions, does not necessarily have a record. It is based perhaps on a value judgment. The president uses his discretion, and as long as it meets the requirement of being rational and legal, he is well within his rights to take that decision. Some cabinet reshuffles are based on political considerations. Now, if you were to allow that particular ruling to stand, that any cabinet reshuffle will be done in this manner, and the president will be expected to produce a record. So there's not a point of not wanting to be accountable, but to say that there's different type of executive decision that will not have a record for us to be able to provide to those.
Does it then mean that going forward, this matter has been laid to rest?
It won't be laid to rest. Hence, we are going to the Constitutional Court. The President feels strongly that the judgment cannot hold in its current form because they are particular. I'll make an example. For example, if the President is implementing legislation or the President takes a decision based on a report that is given to him, he's easily able to supply that and say, this is the record of why I took that decision. So in the case when President Zuma was asked to provide a record of why he had reshuffled his cabinet, he never would have had a record to provide because that is not how that particular decision is taken. He exercises his discretion. So we're hoping that the Constitutional Court, in its wisdom, will be able to see that Rule 53, as it applies to executive decisions of this nature, cannot apply.
The matter of the payment of the legal fees of the former President Jacob Zuma, even though the President has explained it in Parliament, does the payment continue?
So it's nothing new from what the President has been saying. And that is, when he was first asked in Parliament, the President explained that there is an undertaking that President Jacob Zuma had signed to the state, and on the basis of that undertaking, government had taken a decision of his legal fees. Now, as a Zuma is not successful in his defense in the court, he will repay the money that the state would have utilized for his legal fees. So that is our position. But what then subsequently happened is that the opposition parties took this matter to court. The president again was requested to provide a record of how the decision was taken. And you'll know that this decision was taken in 2006, roundabout there. So all the information that we had at our disposal was then submitted to the court to say this is the record of the decision for the court to be able to make up its mind. We've been asked for a supplementary affidavit, which we have been compiling. But we have also filed a notice to abide, meaning that whatever decision the court takes in relation to this matter, the presidency will abide. So if the court is of the view that those legal fees should not be paid, then the presidency will abide by that decision. So we really have not said anything new. We just reiterated our position. We continue to honor the undertaking until and unless a court decides otherwise.
In other news, Ms. Diko, this morning the Presidency released a statement that the President welcomes the participation of Dr. RIEK MACHAR in high-level revitalization talks facilitated by IGAD. Remind us, what is the President's role in Southern Sudan?
Well, as you know, the President was appointed as a facilitator in the South Sudan peace process. It is a role that he continues to play. In fact, as recently as this Sunday, the 17th of June, the President was in consultations with head of state in the IGAD. Now, President has welcomed the participation of Dr. MACHAR in these high-level revitalization talks in Addis Ababa. He said that Africa will continue to support any efforts to ensure that you are able to bring lasting peace and stability and hopefully and importantly development in the South Sudan. So he's welcomed their participation and wished them very well in their talks in Ethiopia today.
But he's also voiced concern about the continuing instability. What does the return of Mr. MACHAR to the talks mean in terms of bringing back stability to Southern Sudan?
I think the President Ramaphosa, up until this stage, has been very careful not to make pronouncements as it relates to how the South Sudanese people must find that lasting peace. And you know, the position of the ANC-led government has always been that the people of a particular region are the ones that should be supported to find peace and stability within their own terms. President has, however, said that the incidents that have been seen in that region in recent weeks and months are a cause for concern, and this is why he continues to engage regularly with heads of state, not only in IGAD but also within the continent at large, trying to bring everybody together in order to help the people of Sudan.
Thanks for your time. Khusela Diko is the presidential spokesperson. Blaine?